group of white supremacists has founded a 160-acre settlement in the Ozark Hills for white people only, and it's called Return to the Land. It was set up in 2023 by two men named Eric Orwell and Peter Cesare, and it explicitly bans Jewish people, LGBTQ individuals, and anyone who isn't a white Christian of European descent.
So some white people have decided that they only want to live amongst other white people who can prove European ancestry. They've set up a small town in the state of Arkansas that is for whites only. No Jews, no Muslims, no gays, and definitely no non-whites. And obviously the mainstream media is absolutely outraged by this, despite the fact that we've seen these kind of things before with other groups of people, and we've actually seen positive media coverage, even though the motivations, if you're going to call this racist, would be just as racist for the setup of this all-black town in Georgia that we started hearing about 4 years ago. But this is what we're going to talk about today. This is what we're going to break down, because a lot of people are definitely really angry about this, despite the fact that presumably, if these people are the evil white racists that you don't want to be around, you should be perfectly fine with them setting up their own little goofy town in the state of Arkansas. And this is what we're going to address. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
Now, this white-only town is vetting members through interviews and ancestry screening, and only those who can prove European roots are allowed in. Right now, about 40 people live there full-time, but hundreds more around the world have already paid for membership. And once accepted, members can buy land, but instead of traditional deeds, they're sold LLC shares tied to private plots. The group claims that this loophole lets them bypass civil rights housing laws.
So almost all of the coverage, and I mean 100% of the coverage of this particular story, is in fact negative. Now, of course, this story is getting a lot of national media attention, which I find to be absolutely ridiculous. Because even with the inflated numbers of people applying to be a part of this community, we're actually talking about 40 people right now, with maybe hundreds, so maybe 200 people looking to join up and live in and around this area. That is just not that many people, and considering that the media coverage was a complete 180 when black people tried to do this in the state of Georgia, basically promoting this.
We are the buying power. If we can just teach each other to circulate our dollars within the community, we will solve our own problems. We are literally the answer to our own problems, but we have to change our thinking and come together. My name is Renee Walters, and I am the president of the Freedom Georgia Initiative. I have a black husband. I have a black son. Every time he would leave out for work or just to go to the store or anything, I would have a sense of anxiety just from watching everything that we've been going through lately with the pandemic and watching our black men being murdered on national television in front of everybody. It kind of just all shook us by storm.
And that was 19 families, so already more people than were present here. I find this whole exercise to be hypocritical and, of course, to be incredibly stupid.
It's now time for us to get our friends and family together and build for ourselves. That's the only way we'll be safe. That's the only way that this will work. We have to start bringing each other together. Well, we are looking to get amenities on the land. We want to have a place where you can have weddings, a nice retreat. We'll have tiny homes. We really just want you to come and hang out and feel safe. You don't have to worry about the Karens of the world and anything like that. You just come and have fun. We'll have a sportsman area here with fishing, hunting, shooting range, ATV trails. We really just want to build a tight-knit community for our people to just come and breathe.
I mean, again, 19 black families setting up their own little black town in the state of Georgia because of the evil white racists that are lurking under every rock that have just made it so bad for them that they have to live together, gets a glowing profile with inspirational music on Yahoo News. But apparently, white people who are far fewer in numbers forming their own little town their own little agricultural community, that's a big problem, even though they are quite literally moved into a place where nobody wants to live. Again, this just does not seem like that important of a story to me, and I will make this 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. I have absolutely no interest in joining either community. I don't think I would be permitted to be in either community, but it quite literally does not bother me that these people are trying to do this, even if I think they're dumb for doing so. Now, of course, this white community ends up taking inspiration from a South African town that is like a whites only enclave that is in response to the South African government becoming ever more hostile to the now white minority in that particular country. And in that specific context, because Afrikaners have their own unique culture that is distinct from the culture around them, I'm actually perfectly fine with them having their own place where they feel like they can be represented, because again, what ends up happening in those societies is that you are under threat or potential threat from a majority population, and forming your own little city or your own little state or your own little nation within a broader nation is a good way to protect yourself. Again, this has been done by minority groups from around the world since the dawn of time. But in this particular instance, you have a bunch of guys that are taking inspiration from that, trying to apply that to the context of the United States of America, when in reality, there are plenty of majority white places that you could move to in America that I'm sure are nice, suitable communities where people would be happy. It just so happens that they're trying to do this in a rural area, and even though I'm not bothered by it, I would not move there, and I would not recommend that you guys move there, because of course, they're going to face an onslaught of hatred and attacks, and all the problems associated whenever white people say they just want to live near other white people. Now, of course, Indisputable with Rashad Ritchie put out this ridiculous segment on this story where they say far-right group creates whites-only town with chilling expansion goals.
Those are the words of Eric Orwell. He's the founder of the Return to the Land Association, a far-right group that has formed a tiny whites-only community in the Ozarks of Arkansas as part of a segregationist movement that is quickly gaining popularity online among some conservatives and alt-right supporters. The group is looking to expand its reach from its base in northern Arkansas to an area near Springfield, Missouri. They're looking to spread out these all-white towns. And obviously there's some negative implications with that, but let's continue first.
Now look, even though they're trying to scare you about this, they're trying to terrify you about this particular case, they have to lay out the numbers and make fun of this particular group, because again, it's only 40 people, and maybe if they approve every application to join said community, they will get up to around 240 people, and that's not scaring anybody. That should not be concerning to anyone. And considering that these people call every single white person an evil white racist, they defamed a pregnant woman who, according to them, walked up to 4 black teenagers in order to steal a bike from them. And they've also attacked a mentally disabled woman who they labeled a Karen for being a white person getting into an argument with a black person as an evil white racist. You would think that their absolute disdain for white America, it would make them happy that they're moving away from black people. Again, you don't want them here, allegedly. You don't want them around you. But all of a sudden, when they say the feeling's mutual and they decide that they don't want to be around you, it's a major problem. And this guy is an absolute idiot, because he goes through all these different circumstances where a black person or a Latino person may have European ancestry or even have a lot of European ancestry.
According to RTTL's website, the group is a private membership association that only welcomes individuals with European ancestry who have traditional views. I wonder, well, real quick, I wonder how deep that really goes, because, you know, it's like, how many people have European ancestry? So many. I mean, pretty much all the Latinos, unless you're just strictly indigenous in like Central America or Mexico or South America somewhere, all of them got European ancestry. I mean, pretty much everybody that's black in America has some kind of European ancestry, whether it's like their half or onward generationally. You know, so I think we know it's like, if you're not just white, I don't know, it just seems kind of loose.
And says, well, are they going to include them? Are they going to be welcome? And the answer to that question is obviously no. I mean, again, you wouldn't be doing the story if they let everyone in who had just an inkling of European ancestry.
The association's first Ozark community was founded in October of 2023 and spans roughly 160 acres of land in northern Arkansas. Quote, we seek to create a decentralized movement formed of various individuals and societies returning to the land, the website says.
So my first reaction to this story, and I'm being 100% honest with you guys, seeing it on Twitter was, okay, like, don't care at all whatsoever. It has no impact on my life. It's nowhere near me in my own country. And again, it's such a small number of people that it shouldn't really bother anyone. But considering Rayshad Ritchie's show is all about hating white people, attacking white people, trying to go after and undermine white people, you knew that they were going to produce a segment on this. But all of this rings incredibly hollow when there is no such equivalent segment for that Georgia community 4 years ago, as well as no such equivalent outrage from the mainstream media about that either. And to be clear, even though I would not move to a community like this, I have no interest in founding a community like this, and honestly, I probably wouldn't get along with the leaders of either said community. In reality, this is the United States of America. If you want to throw down your money and buy a giant plot of land and only allow the people that you want on said plot of land, there's really nothing you can do with that. You just gotta let it happen. It's something that occurs in this country very often. A lot of times people get outraged by it when it happens with Scientologists or some other weird religious group. But unfortunately, until you break a law, until you actually do some kind of criming, there's nothing you can do in order to deal with this other than kind of just let it play out. And by the way, if these people aren't hurting anybody and they just don't want to be near any Jewish people, Muslim people, gays, or any blacks or Hispanics or whatever, even though that's not something that I'm interested in, they can feel free to do so, much in the same way that the black people in Georgia felt free to do so, but instead they got glowing media coverage about how, oh my god, white people are so dangerous, white people are so sketchy, we gotta get away from those evil white races. And again, you would think these people who think all white people are evil, white, and racist would be totally fine with this, and yet they have such a problem with it.
Quote, we will promote strong families with common ancestry and raise the next generation in an environment that reflects our traditional values. No Jewish people or anyone who adopts non-European religions, including Islam, are permitted to live there. Well, Jewish and Islamic people are all over Europe. So again, but racism requires a base level of ignorance and stupidity. So there is that.
No, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous and absurd. Most European countries are not traditionally Islamic countries. Now you can make an argument for Islamic influence at certain periods of time in certain European nations. But the fact is, if you learn anything about modern Western civilization, one of the first things that you do learn is that a lot of the disputes and wars and whatnot were all over splits between Catholicism and, of course, Protestantism. Now, of course, it's more complicated than that. There are other reasons for people fighting, but the fact is, Christianity for a very long time had been the religion of Europe, and while there were very much pockets of Jewish populations in many of these European countries, the dominant religion was very much traditionally Christianity, whether it be Catholic or Orthodox Christianity, or, of course, the Protestant Christianity that, again, caused a lot of conflicts between these nations. This is not hard to figure out. Islam is a relatively new import into most European countries, especially at the levels that we're seeing it at this moment in time, and it's absurd to state otherwise. So yeah, these people have issues with other religions, and not only do they have issues with other races, and this should be unsurprising. And by the way, I don't see a lot of Islamic people wanting to move to a place like this, and considering that Texas has this big Islamic town that's being built in and around one of the areas, I think it's the DFW area, nobody's actually lashing out or complaining about that in any significant comparable way. So again, this just seems rather disingenuous and incredibly stupid. And ironically, this guy's like, oh, well, I guess it's a prerequisite to be stupid because there's lots of Islams in Europe right now. But in reality, those people are usually imported into Europe, or they're European converts to Islam. It is not a religion that is known for being primarily located in Europe, and you would think most people would understand that, but again, too complicated for the folks over at Indisputable with Rayshad Ritchie.
So if you Islam or Jewish, you cannot live there, as well as people belonging to, of course, the gays and the trans, y'all are not allowed either.
Look, if you're going to say that racism involves a baseline of stupidity, I would actually agree with that sentiment. But if you then follow it up with, if you're Islam or Jewish, you're not welcome there, then I'm going to point out that you also require a baseline of stupidity in order to operate. Islam is the faith. The practicers are typically called Muslims, not if you're Islam. Like, what the hell are you even talking about? And again, we've already gone over the fact that yes, Islam is not considered a traditional European religion, even though certain European nations have had Islamic influences, if we're being the most historically accurate. That being said, again, just hear the absolute dismissal and anger about this, despite the fact that these people are identifying themselves as the evil white racists that you don't want to live with, and they're making it easy for you because they're moving away. Again, if somebody didn't want to live near me, if somebody had a bias or a racial issue with me, and they identified that and then they moved away from me, I wouldn't care. I would not bother me at all whatsoever. If they said no Irish Puerto Ricans, then I would be like, okay, yeah, I just move on with my life, because this is just not an issue that I engage with in my day-to-day life. Most normal people don't operate this way. And in fact, it is such an anomaly for white people to group up that it is apparently national news when they do, even when, again, it's 40 people.
Because again, like, it seems like it would be pretty quick that you could get past the non-European. Like, again, I'm half white, and then how many people are just like, they could be, you wouldn't be able to tell whatsoever. They may just be 1 or 2 generations removed from somebody who's European. So like, it's just pretty thick racism to me. What do you think?
So this guy right here says, look, it seems like you could get past the European Association really quickly. I mean, I'm half white, and in reality, you just won't be able to tell. Newsflash, guy, hey, me, Sean Fitzgerald, I gotta break this to you. You could tell. You could 100% tell, not just based on your physical appearance, but also based on your attitude, based on the fact that you've gone into the super pro-black camp, which is honestly a very time-honored tradition for people that are half white and are uncomfortable about their personal identity. I hate to get too personal with you, but the facts are what they are, and considering these people say that they're also pulling in like some kind of ancestry claim, it seems like they have a more sophisticated way of checking, even if we think this is a goofy thing. And by the way, I said we because I also think that this is a goofy thing, but what's more ridiculous is your response to it. Again, white flight, bad, evil, white, and racist, but gentrification, when white people moving in, also evil, white, and racist. There is nothing that white people can do that you would be mad at, and this is the dirty little secret that's not so secret. It's not white privilege where privilege is the issue. It's not white supremacy where supremacy is the issue. It is the white that is the issue. That is the problem that these people have. White people are doing anything, so they want to call it racist and cry about it.
Well, it is. It's dippy too. You know, I remember as a news anchor, you know, they do these crazy stories and sweeps, and they said, well, we're going to do a 23andMe or Ancestry, whatever they did. They maybe swab my cheek or something. And then they surprised me on the air playing Riverdance, talking about some, you're Irish. Oh, they did. And I had been, you know, I'm straight out of Wakanda, and I let the audience know it too.
So here you have another anti-white lady who says that she did one of these ancestry things and they found some Irish DNA in her and they started playing Riverdance, and she talks about how really put off she was by it and how she's straight up from Wakanda. Again, this rings a little bit more hollow when you have fake blonde hair on your head in order to emulate something from Ireland or other European nations, but also just listen to the disdain that she has for Irish people. Now, of course, I have Irish ancestry. I actually recently visited Ireland for the first time. I had a great time, but one of the things that I came to realize almost immediately as I got there is that I am in no way, shape, or form Irish. I am American. I am separate from that cultural history and heritage. And what the Irish people over there say about people who are of Irish descent that left during whatever terrible period in Irish history that they left is 100% true. You're not Irish. Your family got on the boat 100 years ago. 200 years ago, or whatever, and you left, you are now a part of whatever culture you assimilated in. And that's just reality. Now, again, I don't hate them for that. I don't begrudge them for that. I just acknowledge the truth of what it is. I love the country. I love the people that I met while I was in said country, but I'm not a part of that cultural thing, despite the supposed European ancestry that would tie me there. And again, this is one of the reasons why a common bond of European ancestry is not something I'm really all that interested in. But if you are interested in that, if you are interested in overlooking the differences between a Spaniard, an Englishman, a Frenchman, or whatever, and making some kind of broader white group and forming a town that's a private association, I quite literally do not care, and I'm not going to throw a fit over it like the folks over on Indisputable.
Part of me says, well, go on and go isolate yourself somewhere. But, land is valuable and this country belongs to all of us. I got to use these quotes because you never know what they'll do next. And I think that this has got to be dealt with. The Attorney General I saw, said, we're not going to stand for this whites-only community.
So, of course, even though she says, oh, I just want to let them go, I don't care what they do, she wants to get the Attorney General involved because, oh my god, it's so horrible. And then she utters the stupidest statement humanly possible, the absolute most idiotic thing that she could say, which is, imagine if we did that.
Said, we're not going to stand for this whites-only community. Imagine if we did that. Or the portion of us that is African American did that.
Again, I know ignorance is a prerequisite for racism, as was stated earlier in this segment, but we don't have to imagine. 4 years ago, there were glowing segments in places like Yahoo News when black people did exactly that. And guess what? It was more black people doing exactly that. And you didn't say anything negative about those people. And if this was brought up to you, you also wouldn't say anything negative. We have blacks only dorms, blacks only graduation ceremonies, all different ways to separate black people from the broader population, and you're the exact kind of person who would defend that. And also, why are you squinting so much? Did you forget your glasses? Can you not see? Do you need my pair of glasses? I will hand them to you, because I know that squint effect is definitely real when you can't see absolutely anything. What the hell is wrong with you? Also, thank you for adding negative value to this conversation.
Would people, you know what I'm saying? People would be, are you kidding me? For real? So
no, they wouldn't. It did happen, and nobody really cared. They pointed out that those black people are kind of racist, and then they moved on with their lives, and maybe the town succeeded, but very unlikely that it did. Not hearing a lot of updates from the new Wakanda that was formed in Georgia, but again, this would not generate the same level of national outrage. You quite literally did not hear of a story where they did the same exact thing. And by the way, there are other projects that are similar throughout history of black people trying to do the same thing. And again, in terms of projects like Liberia, where black people probably didn't feel comfortable in the United States of America post-slavery, so they wanted to return to Africa, but they were not quite African, so they needed a new country for this new kind of group, which is the African American or the Black American. I would be totally in favor of that. You are free to do that. And honestly, I think it would make a lot of black people feel better if they had the option to go somewhere, so that way they couldn't make the claim that, oh, I'm stuck here, I'm trapped here, my ancestors were kidnapped here. But if you gave them like a right of return or something of the sort to a nation like Liberia, I think that would actually make race relations a little bit better in this country. So again, I actually support this. If you want to do something of this, go ahead, have a good time. If these white people want to do their goofy little white town, go ahead, have a good time. As long as they're not hurting anybody and it's a voluntary association, even though this is not the ideal that I want to live in, this is not something that I'm interested in. Honestly, it just doesn't bother me enough that I'm gonna get outraged by it, and I'm gonna pretend that black people don't want to do this, and significantly more black people don't want to do this than the 40 white people in this Arkansas town. Again, it's such a small amount, it's so ridiculous, and yet these people are so outraged by the prospect that white people who they call evil, white, and racist and say they don't want to be near might not want to be near them too. By the way, I don't know if this this is a credit or a discredit to the audience of Indisputable, but if you go to the comments, a lot of people support this because they actually buy into the propaganda that is being pushed by Indisputable, which is all white people are racist and black people would be better off separated from whites. Again, if you look at the comments, people are saying, oh, I'm black and it's a great idea. Let them be by themselves. As a black person, I have no problem with what these people are doing. They should be by themselves. Nothing wrong with that. I'm black. I don't see a problem with this. Why would I want to be around people I don't like or don't like me? And then, of course, you have people saying, oh, well, we have to build our own towns and it would be amazing if we did this. Again, completely ignorant because they're in this audience of the fact that they did do this. This was a thing in Georgia. It was a story a couple of years ago. It just didn't receive any of the outrage. But again, their audience, which has been trained to hate white people, because that's why you watch Indisputable with Rayshad Ritchie, is totally on board with people separating themselves out because this is the message that is pushed by Indisputable. They are a pro-segregation channel, but of course, when white people actually listen to their message, that's when they freak out. That's when they melt down, and that's when we get a segment like this about the scary implications of what they've been asking for this whole time.
The same people would throw a fuss about it, you know?
Right.
No, they wouldn't throw a fuss because guess what? It's happened before and they didn't throw a fuss. Now look, I'm going to close it out here. I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. Are you putting in your application to move to this Arkansas rural community? Or are you like maybe going to move to a neighborhood that you just like better, but that's actually a part of the modern United States of America, which is going to have more modern amenities? And do you wish these people well, or do you wish them doom and a curse and whatnot? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. But as per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias. This has been me talking about the outrage over 40 white people forming a group. Till next time.